I have a 7-year-old niece who wants to be a police officer like her dad when she grows up and loves the color pink. The more sickly sweet pink, the better. She's a sweet kid that doesn't ask for much. I like to knit and crochet during the year. Then I give the scarves and hats that I make to my aunt's church, who organizes Christmas parties for really low-income families. I'm talking about people with children who can barely afford a coat. This party is filled with games and activities for the children. It's amazing, since the church is very active in the community and has managed to get sponsors from big supermarkets who offer whole turkeys and lots of food for the parents. On top of that, quality gifts for the children. I love helping my aunt during this time by giving my time and knitting stuff for those less fortunate. My brother recently started dating this girl, and to be kind and honest, I don't like her. She has trouble understanding personal space, privacy of others, or boundaries. She will insist that you tell her all about private affairs that you don't want to talk about, and will make it her business. She has been constantly trying to get me to date her friends that I'm not interested in. At one point, she thought I was a lesbian because I didn't like any of the guys she wanted to set me up with. When my aunt talked about the church's plan to still offer help during Christmas despite pandemic, I told her that I had lots of scarves and hats to give at home. My aunt was delighted and asked me to bring them to her as soon as possible. I agreed. However, the day I wanted to bring them to her, I was called to come into the office to replace a colleague. My work is in reduced workload. I asked my sister-in-law if she could pick up the bag with the scarves and hat that was sitting at the top of my stairs, not in my living room. As I said, my niece loves the color pink, and she asked me to make her a neon hot pink hat and scarf with a white heart. I agreed and had just finished them both and left them in a drawer in my living room. I was planning to wrap them up and give it to my sister later on. Fast forward to this evening. I come home, exhausted. It's been a while since I have done the work and there was a lot to do. I noticed my sister-in-law had come by and taken the bag. Oh, great, I thought, and reminded me of my niece's gift. However, when I came to get them, they were gone. I checked everywhere for them, thinking I had misplaced them. Then it hit me. Maybe I had put them with the bag by mistake. I immediately called my aunt, but she couldn't find them. There was no neon hot pink scarf or hat with a white heart. I call my sister-in-law in a panic. She picks up and tells me that she had seen the scarf and hat. Oh, thank God, right? Nope. Turns out that dear witch-in-law decided that I hadn't given enough for charity, so she decided to snoop around my house to find some more. She took 4 other scarves and hats that were for other people, my niece's gift, and decided to rearrange my drawers because they were not clean or organized. I put my anger on the back burner for a while because my niece's gift was more important for now. When I asked her what happened to it, she responded that she had taken it and gave it to her niece because her sister was in need. To say that I was offended and pissed is like saying that fire burns. I proceed to lose my crap at her. How dare she? She goes through my stuff, takes my belongings, gives away my gift for my niece, and then has the gall to give me a lecture on how I should be happy that I help a spoiled brat who has 2 parents making in the 7 figures a year. I told her that if the scarf and hat weren't in my possession by tomorrow night, I was going to sue the crap out of her. She scoffed and hung up. I called everyone in the family, especially my brother. 20 minutes ago, my sister-in-law brought me the scarf and hat back and apologized. She was in tears and begging me not to involve my cop of a brother-in-law. My brother-in-law, bless his heart, had swung by her house and had threatened to have her arrested for thievery. I just took my stuff back, thanked her for doing the right thing, and closed the door on her. I was so angry at her that I was numb inside. My niece will have her gift. My aunt has the knitted stuff I made for her church, and my brother is now single. What a day. Honestly, OP, it might be wise to look around and see if anything else is missing. If she rearranged your drawers, she might be hiding the fact that she's taken other stuff. I would make sure any and all valuables, medication, etc. are accounted for. No telling how much of the house she snooped through. If she was so distraught at the idea of being arrested, it makes me wonder if she's got a record. A quick background. My boyfriend's parents got some tickets to Disney World for my boyfriend, his parents, and me. Due to health reasons, my boyfriend's dad was unable to go, so my boyfriend's mom decided not to go as well. due to my gullibility and other reasons, me and my boyfriend decided I would give the spare tickets to my dad and stepmom, so they only had to pay for their flights. My dad and I's relationship was fine. My dad is a bit of a jerk, but only when my stepmom's around. But my stepmom didn't like me from day one. She was always doing small, stupid crap as a way to convince my dad that I and my siblings are entitled brats and deserve to be cut off because she didn't like the idea that my dad had kids from a previous marriage. It would always be small stuff, like going to the movies with my dad and claiming she had asked us if we wanted to go, and us saying no when she really hadn't asked us at all, or trying to convince my dad to leave us out of family portraits. But recently, it began escalating to her accusing me of spanking and starving my half-brother, who is 4 and severely autistic. As such, I am not comfortable being left alone with my half-brother anymore, because I know if I am, my stepmom will find some tiny pink dot on his skin and claim that I poked him with a needle for fun, or some BS like that. On to the story. Last Thanksgiving, I visited my dad and stepmom for the holidays. It was my first Thanksgiving without my mom, who had passed away last year, so I was already on a short leash as it was, and since my dad and I's relationship was on thin ice, I was just going to try and salvage what little relationship I had left with my dad after my stepmom's constant poisoning of his mind. I was mostly looking to after Thanksgiving, where me and my boyfriend would fly to Florida for a few days, then spend 4 days at Disney World with my dad and stepmom. While I wasn't looking forward to spending it with my dad and stepmom, I figured me and my boyfriend could have plenty of places to ditch my parents if I felt too overwhelmed with my stepmom. Thanksgiving passed and goes without too much incident, other than snide remarks from my stepmom on anything from my weight gain to my new haircut. I ignore it, mostly because the woman is a beached whale, so she can't really talk about my weight, and go to bed. Due to the fact that their dog had fleas, and since the dog was in my bed, I wasn't sure if the bed had fleas or not, so I had a hard time sleeping. I am very sensitive, so I was tossing and turning a lot and scratching when I felt something so much as touch me. I did finally manage to get to sleep, still not sure whether the bed had fleas or not. But about 10 minutes after I dozed off, my dad comes barging in and tells me that he and my stepmom are going Black Friday shopping and want me to watch my half-brother. I'm really pissed at the rude awakening and the fact it's almost 4 in the morning, but I tell my dad that I'm honestly not comfortable with it. I lie and say the reason is because I'm not comfortable with watching someone with autism, which isn't correct. I'm fine with it. I just knew if I told my dad the real reason, he would argue with me and I wasn't in the mood for it. My dad then says that they'll be back before my half-brother wakes up, and if they're not, my brother, who lives with my dad, will be home tomorrow to help. Since my brother would be home, I felt like it was okay and I said fine. My dad promised me they would be back before 8 in the morning, and I go back to sleep. Q 8:30. My half-brother, who will now be referred to as HB, is screaming because he woke up and nobody is around and it scares him. I get up and go to wake up my brother to discover he's not home. I text my brother and find out he has to work today and left at 7 before my HB woke up. So now I'm stuck alone with my HB, which would have been fine with me if my stepmom wouldn't be accusing me of mistreating him that afternoon. So I text my dad and ask him when he's coming back and that I'm not comfortable being alone with HB. No response. I make HB breakfast, pancakes, and I leave the mess where it is, partially out of spite and partially in case my stepmom claims I didn't feed him, which she does. 9 o'clock rolls around and I finally call my dad and ask him where the hell he is. I find out the store that he's at and has been waiting in a line for hours for a huge sale has only just opened and they just barely started their shopping and we're nowhere near done yet. I ducking hate Black Friday, y'all. I get pissed off due to no sleep and due to the fact that my dad knew what time the store opened and lied to me and told me he would be back before then, and due to the fact that my stepmom would come home and claim I'd been mistreating my HB. So I snapped at him and told him I wasn't a babysitter and that he needs to come get HB or I would call an Uber and take us both over to the store they're at and drop him off. My dad knows me and knows I don't mess around, but he calls me back 10 minutes later to call me a spoiled bee. There's a lot of back and forth between us until my dad and stepmom get home. Most of it just my dad throwing insult after insult at me, that I know is planted by my stepmom. They finally get home. My dad is throwing crap around and loudly telling HB that they're going to the local amusement park that afternoon, and that it will be a family get-together and that only grateful children got to go. I was just sitting in the family room watching TV and trying not to cry because I know that my dad is saying the family crap to get to me. He knows how valuable family is to me and how I've tried so hard to make our relationship work because of that. My stepmom comes into the family room and just stares at me, glaring. I avoid eye contact, but she does it for almost 3 minutes, just sitting there and glaring. I finally get fed up, and the following argument ensues. Me. What? If you're going to say something, stepmother, just say it. My stepmom is smirking because she's won. She was looking for an argument, and I guess I shouldn't have given in to her, but I was done with her and my dad. Stepmom. I'm not going to say anything. I could say something, but I won't. I could say how you hate HB to the point where you didn't even feed him breakfast, but I won't. I really don't get when people do that, when they say they won't say anything and say it anyway. Me. I didn't feed HB? What the duck do you call all those dishes then? I point to the breakfast dishes I didn't clean up for this exact reason. That's why I don't watch HB. I love him to death, but you always accuse me of mistreating him or some crap. Stepmom looks at the dishes and starts blushing, but then figures out a way to make it go into her favor. Stepmom. Oh wow. You even go so far as to claim my breakfast dishes are yours. Pathetic. Me. You know what? I don't even ducking care anymore. Stepmom. Cuts me off. You can't swear in my house. If you don't like it, you can leave. Now, I had been going to counseling for this exact reason. My counselor had an excellent piece of advice about setting boundaries. And you know what? I set them. Me. You know what? Fine. My flight is later tonight anyway. I'll just call an Uber and chill at the airport for a while. I could tell they weren't expecting that because both Dad and Stepmom's eyes were wide open as I went to my room, changed, and started packing. Dad eventually came in and tried to calm me down, but I was done. Me. You called me a spoiled bee and then want me to forgive you. Duck that and duck you too. I finish packing and wait an uncomfortable 10 minutes for my Uber ride while Dad is trying to guilt me into staying, saying he overreacted and didn't mean it, while my stepmom is in the background, screeching good riddance until my Uber gets here and I head to the airport. And by God, I knew it was petty. I knew I should take time to cool off before I did it, but I looked over my shoulder as I got in the car and called out, Me. I would cancel your guys' flight to Florida next week if I were you. I then got in the car and called my boyfriend and told him everything over tears that the Uber driver nicely provided tissues for. My boyfriend told me he wanted me to wait until I'd calmed down before making a decision. But I told my boyfriend to call the family he has in Florida and ask them if they wanted to join us at Disney World. Turns out, everyone was too busy, but we gave the passes back to my boyfriend's parents and they went later in February after boyfriend's dad's health improved. Wound up spending the entire time with just me and my boyfriend, and it was ducking glorious. My dad's been trying to contact me since then, but I only talk to him over the phone, never going to his house for the holidays again. I'd like to pile on the name-calling of your dad and stepmom, but you know that isn't helpful. At some point, you're going to have to accept the way things really are with your dad. Your mom is gone, and he is a different person. A terrible person, and you don't want to accept that, but he can't be seen through any other lens. Rather than trying to find ways to make yourself matter and be accepted by stepmom, concentrate on your happiness and fulfillment going forward. She's never going to want you in your dad's life, and you can't do anything about it, except to continue to put yourself in these situations where you are attacked and leave feeling depressed, discarded, and sick. It's not going to be different next week, next month, or next year. Nurture yourself, work towards your own goals, and strengthen the positive relationships and support systems that you do have. Good luck. There is a new hire at work who started a couple months ago. We have a lot in common, and I have confided in her quite a bit. One of her social media accounts got recommended to me today, and I found a post talking about my relationship. She said, I love it when a girl feels the need to tell me that her relationship is open. I'm like, I bet, sweetie. She posted this the day I told her my partner and I were open. My partner and I have been in a loving relationship for 2+ years. I was honestly really taken aback by this post, as I felt like we were becoming friends, and I had invited her to hang out outside of work. It hurt a lot to hear that she was judging my relationship style. I really want to confront her and tell her I was sad because I thought that we were becoming good friends and that it hurt to see her crap on my relationship, but that I planned on being cordial with her at work. The only thing holding me back is she knows a couple silly things I have done at work. And while I don't think she would tell someone about them, and don't see why she would, there is a fear of that for me. Should I bring it up? No, I wouldn't confront her. That would be causing too much drama in a professional work environment. Be happy and take it as luck you found her post this early on before confiding even more in her. Stop confiding in her. She's clearly not going to be a good friend to you, and just start having a professional work relationship with her and nothing else. It will be good for you.